For over a year now, I've been collecting my shredded hair, painfully one at a time in hopes of making a Victorian-inspired morning jewelry piece. I specifically wanted to make a bracelet, and I struggled to find videos on how to do so, so I started my research. I came across a pattern book, really the pattern book of the time. The title is Self-Instructor in the Art of Hair Work by Campbell. I will link the free scanned English version of the pattern book in the caption. The pattern book starts off by discussing braiding tables. I managed to find a few modern substitutes, starting off with Zen, the founder of hair anthropology. They make small batch braiding tables that are designed and handcrafted in their home workshop. She also takes custom commissions. I will link her website down below. Then a cheap version off of Amazon. And ultimately, I opted for something much more DIY to keep the cost of my new hobby to a minimum. The pattern book covers over 100 different patterns. They start off relatively easy and increase in difficulty. The workbook covers table work, which is braided or woven pieces, but it does not cover palette work, which is flat designs, or gimp work, which is considered wire work. The last leg of the workbook shows Mr. Campbell's designs. I tried to include similar images to get an idea of what the pieces would look like in real life. In the 18th and 19th century, during the Victorian era, this type of hair art was a fairly new art form. Hair was often collected from a loved one, and it wasn't always from someone who was deceased, but it was made with the intention to commemorate a loved one. Hair was also turned into home decor. Things like floral wreaths and bouquets were popular to display a living and growing family. It may seem grim or odd to some, but during these times, deaf culture was very normalized. Human hair also does not decay, so many of these heirlooms are still around today. Hair art became a popular domestic craft for many women, but if you were well off enough, you could search the paper for a hair worker and mail in said hair. A popular magazine by the name Godey's Ladies played a huge role in bringing hobbies like hair art into the homes of American women. I even have a price list from an 1860 issue of the magazine. I'm not sure how accurate the inflation conversion is, but it's interesting. I decided on the ring pattern on page 77. Once you have chosen your pattern, make a note on how many strands you need and how many singular hairs are needed for each strand. For this project, I decided to use collected hair. It took me over a year to collect this much, but it is doable. To do it this way, take your brush and gently remove your hair, sort the hair from root to end and stick it to a tacky surface. Make sure to only use the longer pieces. Because my hair is so thin, I ended up doing more singular hairs in each bundle. I did this until I had 15 bundles with 30 hairs in each bundle. To save time, if you ever do a big haircut, just save the hair in a ponytail. Now that you've collected and sorted all your hair, here's a supply list. To secure all the hair, I brushed on some E6000 glue, let it dry, and tied it with some strong polyester thread. Each bundle got individually tied and then tied together. Doesn't have to look pretty, it's going to get trimmed. You just want everything to be secure. Now time for the tutorial. This tutorial is specifically for the ring pattern, but it can be applied to other patterns throughout the book. Now it's time to focus on the diagram. It's showing that all the groupings need to be divided, with 7 on the left-hand side, which is the B side, and 8 on the A side. You start by grabbing the outermost string on side A, then proceed over the first 3 and under the following. Then that string gets brought to the other side. Now switch sides. Side B, grab the outermost string, go 3 over and 4 under. Carry that string to the other side. The pattern continues. You go back and forth starting on side A, bring the string over to the side B, and so forth. One, two, three, under 4. 1, 2, 3. I used 2 different colors for the demo so that you could see the pattern repeating, but I also think this would be a really beautiful way to use 2 different hair colors. So instead of using a braiding table, I opted for a disc. It was a lot cheaper of an option, and I could avoid using weights as the tension is easy to set with a disc. So with my bootleg braiding table, I transferred my demo tutorial basically onto the disc and pinned the hair to it and evenly distributed the strands with consistent tension. Please excuse my silly mistake of using black thread It's hard to see, but the same pattern from the demo is replicated here. Grab the outermost string, go over 3 and under 4, bring the string to the other side. It's really important to keep your tension consistent all the way throughout the project. And I kept a dish of water beside me to dip my fingers in and run through the strands of hair. And if you stop the project and start again, you're not quite sure which side you finished on last, a way to check is by counting all your strings and seeing which side has more. For this pattern in particular, whichever side has more, start from that side. If you notice any flyaway hairs, just trim them. In my research, I couldn't find an official way to tie any of these projects off, so I went with my gut and created a zipper by sewing back and forth in hopes that everything would stay together, and it did. I did this for a long time, and multiple pieces of thread in case one decided to give out, again using a strong polyester thread. And now I faced another roadblock. In my research, I found that a lot of people used to bake their pieces back in the day. That seemed awfully scary to me, so I decided to use the boiling method. I made a test braid and dunked half of it and let it soak in 70 degrees Celsius water for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Then I did the other half at 80 degrees Celsius for 4.5 minutes. I let the test braid fully dry and examine the results. I could hardly tell the difference, so I just split everything down the middle, 75 degrees for 4 minutes. I patted it dry, pinned it again to my braiding wheel, and left it by a window with direct sunlight to dry. By using what I already had, I thought it would be a good idea to use my grandma's jewelry. I really love these made in Japan clasps, but I refused to take apart this specific necklace. And there was one that was already broken, so that's the one I went with. Now that my bracelet is dry, the ends are trimmed, it's time to assemble. Again, with the appropriate glue, if you are using E6000, make sure to follow the instructions per the box. I always do a test. Make sure that none of the materials are harmed. Also, a helpful tip is to rub Vaseline around the rings to keep it from drying out. Here's me applying glue to the hair and sanding the metal so that the cement has something to latch onto. And E6000 needs to cure, so I left it for 72 hours after this. For my locket, I went to London Drugs and got photos developed. I made to scale these tiny images to put inside of it. Laid out all my favorite pairings and decided on this one. You can see both my cats and my boyfriend. And here's the final piece. It's not as grand as I thought it was going to be. I didn't have enough hair to make a super large piece, but after collecting my hair for this long, I wanted to give the project a shot. When I come into a large chunk of hair, I will be doing a big project. There's a rich history behind this art form, and I'm very happy that I have something physical from this experience to hold on to. This is my first semi-tutorial that I've ever filmed, and my goal with this channel is to learn new trades and crafts from the ground up and bring you along for it. I hope it sparks an interest or an idea in you,